this is Shel C from Pebeo Dyna Studio. Today I'm bringing you another one of the Christmas gifts I made. This is a picture of Rocky for my mother. Rocky passed away in October, and this is a memorial piece of this very sweet dog. He was a long-haired dapple dashound. He was very even-tempered. He liked to cuddle. And my mom misses him, so that's what this piece is for. This video is long, even though I sped it up and I cut pieces out, so I apologize for that. I have a limited time span that I'm willing to watch, which is about 30 minutes, and this is over that. But I did my best to condense it so that you get the idea of how it was put together. The first thing that I did was I had some jelly prints on some cardstock, and I wanted really warm tones, reds, yellows, oranges, because this piece is about love, and that color represents love to me. And so these prints do actually have some hearts on them. It's kind of hard to see, but it's basically reds, yellows, and hearts for the background. And for these first pieces, I'm using a gel medium because this is heavy paper. It's actually glossy cardstock that has two sides. It has a glossy side and a more dull side, which I printed on the dull side. I'm not sure when I made these prints. I'm sure it was pretty recently because I think I got a stack of stencils that I wanted to use from Tuesday morning, and I know that heart stencil was in the stack, so that's probably where these are from. But I am using the heavier paste type of glue to stick them down, and then I'm using a old gift card there to smooth and make sure that there's no bubbles and that it's all pressed down very well. And I went from larger pieces to smaller pieces, as you can see, and then once that was pretty much, I'd filled up the white space, I changed it over to acrylic paint, and these are all different colors of reds and yellows and oranges. This is the Liquitex Basics paint, so it's not exactly a heavy body, but it's certainly heavier. It's probably medium, I guess, if there was such a thing. I don't think there is, but I'm going to apply it with my finger. I'm going to be doing some finger painting here. And I really need to get some of that Art Guard lotion stuff because boy do I make a mess on my hands. And with the really dry weather here in the winter in Arizona, my hands are hurt. They're dry, they're cracked. And so I really do need to get some of that stuff. I'm going to have to. But I don't have it yet. Probably chemicals are seeping into my skin. I don't know. I also have a baby wipe there that I use to blend in some cases. This is a really fun organic process. I recommend finger painting. The more art I do, the harder time I have keeping my hands out of it. I used to really use a lot of brushes, and now I'm into just feeling it. And these little fingers on the ends of your hands are really excellent applicators for all kinds of medium. I get my hands in the glue and the paint and everything. I really enjoy it. So this is a real fun thing to do. And I'm blending different colors, applying them in different places, just how I feel that it should go, and covering up any white. There's some white edges on the paper because I didn't tear it towards myself. I tore it away, or it was the other piece, or whatever. So there was a long drying session here that you guys are not going to see. I did dry. You can see the black cord from my heat tool where I dried, and then I decided to apply some more paint. Really just getting an idea for what the background is going to be like. I did want that lower edge to be a little bit darker, so I applied that darker color and then kind of went back and blended with the baby wipe again. So a while later, I came back after everything was thoroughly dry, and now I have some scraps from my color boxes. In another video I showed you guys that I sort all my scraps into boxes, and this is from the probably the oranges and yellows, maybe a little bit of the reds, and I just pulled out pieces that had patterns that I liked. These are all lighter weight papers, and some of them are like the newsprint that is down on my desk. Some of them are deli paper. Some of them might be things that I received from other people. Most of them are probably mine, though. I recognize most of these. And I think I even have a few little pieces of, what would you call it? I guess dirty baby wipes. I save those baby wipes because they have great colors on them. And sometimes they have really great colors. That piece is a cutout from my drop paper that I had done. I was doing hearts on a different project. I really like hearts, so I was doing them on a different project, and that's a cutout from that. And like I said before, there's a lot of hearts in this background because this piece represents love. And so I have some hearts that are printed on deli paper. I have hearts that are cut out. And I just am applying all these. And you'll see that my glue has changed. This glue is the Decoarts satin medium. It is a liquid. And this is better for applying the lighter weight papers. So when I was doing the heavy cardstock in the background, I used a heavy glue. And when I am applying these lighter ones, I'm just using this lighter glue with my really nasty ruined brush that I use for applying glues. And my fingers. Don't forget the fingers. I just wanted more pattern in the background, and that's the reason that I'm doing this. So this is really a second layer of collage. I like to glue papers, so you know. Now I'm getting out a piece of, this is Canson mixed media paper, and you can see it's from a spiral bound. And I'm making sure that it's about the same size as my canvas so that I can get scale correct when I do my focal image. And then removing those edges, and this is what I'm going to make the sketch of Rocky. And this is a fussy process, so you might want to fast forward through this. I don't know. If you want to see what it looks like for someone to draw a dog, someone like me to draw a dog, then you might want to watch it. This is sped up to 4 times, I think. And even at the end, I might have sped it up to 8 times because I'm trying to get the video shorter. But I draw, I adjust, I draw, I adjust, I erase, I refine. At one point, I completely erase his entire head and change it. This is an emotional piece. I wanted it to look like the dog. I wanted it to represent his personality and his expression, and that's a really hard thing to do. It's not easy, but I do want to say I am not a professional artist. I have not been trained. I'm self-taught. And so if you don't think you can draw, you can. If you don't think you can paint, you can. You just have to get out of your own head and say to yourself that you can, and start looking at things and really seeing them and trying to express what you see in art. And I believe that everyone should do this. I believe that it's good for your soul. So stop telling yourself that you can't, and you can. That's all I have to say about it. I'll get off my soapbox. Because if I can, you can. I used to be someone who threw away all their art. I would make something and it didn't satisfy what I thought it should look like, and I would get frustrated and I would just toss it. And then I learned if I left it on the desk for a day or two and came back, it looked a whole heck of a lot better because it was the disconnect from the frustration of not being able to make what's in your head come out through your hands and onto the paper or canvas or whatever it is. And I would get frustrated, but I don't do that anymore. Now I leave things. This piece, when it was done, I didn't like it. I took a picture. I, you know, showed my best friend, and she's like, "Oh, that's great." And I'm thinking to myself, "No, it's not. It doesn't look anything like what I wanted it to look like." And I told her, I said, "It looks terrible." She's like, "No, it doesn't." That's why you need friends, so that they can tell you your stuff isn't terrible. And then now that I see it, and when I saw it when my mom opened the package, and time had passed, I really like it. I think I did a good job, if I may say so myself. Which I just did. So you can see me erasing a lot, and I think at some point you'll see me, like, my hands are like, I'm like, the perspective, there it went. The perspective is strange. I wanted him to be facing forward and looking at you, but then his body has to shrink into the background. You have to be able to get the perspective right. And that's what I was struggling with through this whole process, was making his back legs and his bottom appear to be in the distance. And even at this point, I'm like drawing ovals and trying to make sure that my proportions are correct. And I think it's okay. It's not perfect, but I'm satisfied with the way it came out. Also, because he's a dashound, he has a large chest in the front and very short legs, and then of course the body's long off into the distance. And trying to get the drawing to look like that was, I don't know, it took me a while. And I left most of this in. I mean, I don't think I took out any of the drawing. I might have sped it up. But so I left for a while. Then I came back and I decided he's not expressive. This isn't, I want him to have an expression. I want him to come out and say, "This is who I am." This is, he just wasn't expressive enough. So I erased his entire head and I switched the perspective so that he's something that dogs do a lot when they're looking at you, is they'll kind of tilt their head to the side and look up at you like, "What? Like, what are you talking about?" And that's the expression that I wanted to use, because this particular animal did that a lot. He'd tilt his head. And so I changed the perspective of his face and tilted his head to the sideways so that he would be looking up at you. And of course, then that was like a whole bunch more fussing and refining and fussing and refining and erasing. And luckily I'm using a soft leaded graphite so that I can erase a lot. And that's a kneaded eraser, if you wondered what that horrible looking black thing is. It's I know it looks terrible. It's got a lot of graphite on it. I probably need to get a new one, but it still erases just fine. So, and then because the head was tilted, I had to figure out the correct angle for the eyes. I tend to want to make them tilted up at the ends, which makes him into kind of a Asian looking dog, I guess. I don't know. I mess with the eyes on this so much. So then of course I cut it out. I didn't make you watch that. I think you've seen cutting before. And then I put it on the canvas, and then I'm thinking to myself, if I glue this on, it's permanent. Do I really want to glue it on? Am I ready? Is it good enough to use? This is why I left this in. This is me looking at it saying, where do I want to put it? I decided I wanted to put it slightly to the side and down of the canvas. I didn't want it to be exactly in the center because I wanted to have more visual interest. So I decided, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to put it on now. And again, I'm using the thinner glue. This is mixed media paper, so it's not super, super thin like something that you put in a printer, but it's pretty thin. Gluing it down. And then at some point here, very soon, the battery on my phone dies. And I wish that that stupid thing would say to me, "Hey, you fool! Look, look! I'm dying. I'm dying. I'm about ready to put something on the screen that says your battery is low." It stops recording. It's very annoying. And it did it a couple times during this process. Of course, this is like a 5 or 6 hour um, painting, of course. I mean, this wasn't quick by any means. But you will see right about now that I missed the entire underpainting. So I went slow here so that you can really take a look at this. I did this with Neocolor II water soluble crayons for the entire underpainting. And this is just trying to put color where it's going to be and highlights where it's going to be. This is all going to be covered up with acrylic paint, but it's kind of almost like making a guide for yourself. And I did that all with the water soluble crayons. You can kind of see the crayon marks. I did it by applying it directly to the paper and then in some cases blending a little bit with a water brush, but trying to get color blocks where they should be, which guides me when I start to put the acrylic on. And this is just the way I do it. Everyone does something different, but this is how I've taught myself to do it, just like you could. I hope that this inspires somebody to go and try to make a painting if you're not already doing that. You can do it. I promise. So I'm deepening up the dark there at the end. One thing that drives me absolutely bonkers is when there's something on a painting or a card or whatever type of thing that you might see, and it's not standing on anything. It's just floating. That's drove me crazy for years when I used to be a card maker. Drives me crazy. So I always start with a foundation or a horizon line or whatever you want to call it, because he can't just be floating. He's not magic and he can't float. And then the next thing I go to is the eyes, because to me the eyes are what really sells the expression, whether it's a person or an animal or whatever. So I fuss a lot, as you will see through this process, with the eyes. Changing them, adding more dark, adding more light, adding highlights, adding, just constantly going back and forth and back and forth. And that's also just, where I start on pretty much anything that I do, if it's some type of an image of a living thing. Dark is mostly what's in animals' eyes. They don't have a lot of white, so of course I got to put the dark back in. I'm not sure I'll be able to talk through all of this. I might add music in some places if I don't have something to say. Probably about now would be good. as you can see, I'm still fussing with his face. But I did want to point out there's a brush technique. It's called scrumbling. It's where you kind of just wiggle your hand as you're applying the paint. Rocky had long hair, but it was curly. And so I'm trying to make it look like fur. He had short fur on his face, and I'm trying to make that, and then later you'll see me trying to make the longer fur in the background. I was frustrated. I was very frustrated with it, but I think it turned out fine. It does look like fur. So I just thought you might be interested in watching that particular method of brush strokes. And then on his ears, he had long hair. His ears were probably pretty short, but then there was a long bunch of hair hanging off the ends, which was usually tangled. And so I need to make longer brush strokes to make that, but I'm trying to kind of wiggle them a little bit just to make them look more curly. And adding in dark and then adding in light. The tops of his ears was a lighter brown, but then the longer dangly parts were mostly black. Another thing that's a little bit tricky is when you're making an image that's mostly black, being able to put in enough color in different places so that you can differentiate between where the ear starts and the body starts where the ear ends, but it all would kind of blend together. That's something that can be a little bit tricky. But if you look at nature and you look at even just something that is painted black, it's not really black. It has black spots, but it's light brown, it's light gray, it has highlights that are almost completely white. And just training your eye to look at things the way that they are and not the way that your brain thinks they are. Like, for instance, I have a printer. It's black. It's a black printer, but it's not really black. In fact, it's really more kind of gray with a lot of white. So that's where you start to train your mind to see rather than just looking. And that's when you can really start to be able to transfer what you see as an individual person onto a piece of paper or a canvas. That's something that you just have to think about. And we don't. We just go through life thinking, okay, I'm going to wear my little black dress. It's not really black. Sure, it's dyed black, but it doesn't look black to other people if they were to actually think about it. Hope I'm making sense. I think I'm rambling just because I'm trying to explain my point of view while I'm not doing it very well. So now I'm starting in on his chest, and he really had a lot of, like, the hair went down and then out, which made his chest look quite large. And I think pretty soon you'll see the picture that I'm kind of going from. I'll bring it and set it on the corner of the canvas to look at it more closely when I'm doing some more refining of the colors. And you'll see how his hair on his chest was almost like a breastplate. It kind of spread out and made his chest look really large. So I'm trying to do that. I need to put some more color where that ear is so that you can differentiate the ear from the body. It's interesting to watch yourself on video. Even if you never plan to make a YouTube video of your art, you should just film yourself sometime and just watch it because you see things differently as you're watching yourself paint. Gotta go back up to his face again. His face is really what matters. The eyes and the face. And I'm changing it and adding and subtracting and adding more black and putting more white back on. That's just how things work. You just fuss with it until you're happy. And that's the great thing about acrylic paint. And I don't think I mentioned I'm using fluid acrylic paint to do this. It's the Decoarts media line. I I'm happy with this paint. I think because I live in Arizona, it's dry and my paints tend to dry out anyway. So starting out with a more fluid paint to begin with is the way to go. And this paint is very highly pigmented, and so it's basically just liquid pigment. It's great. I'm very happy with it. It's very similar to most artists' favorite, which is the golden fluid acrylic. I know a lot of people use that, but I'm still experimenting with what I like and what I don't like, and really getting into the more expensive art supplies that I didn't have before. In the last year, I've invested quite a bit in, or mostly my friends who support my art have given me quite a bit of expensive materials because I really do plan to do this long term. And I'm one of those people that starts something and then moves on to a different something, moves on to a different something. So making an investment of these more expensive products, you know, did I want to, or did I think that I was going to move on to something else? But no, I'm enjoying doing mixed media. I really think I will continue to do that for the rest of my life. So having these more expensive products is great, and I'm having a fantastic time. And there really is a difference between a 99-cent bottle of acrylic paint that you buy at Walmart and real artist quality paint. That don't be fooled. There really is a huge difference. And those inexpensive paints are great for a lot of things, but if you really want to have something that makes you happy and is highly pigmented and easy to use and it flows freely and it's smooth when it's done, you might want to try out some of these paints. And I would say go for the Decoart Media Line fluid acrylics because they're less expensive than the golden, and they're the same as far as I can tell. So I'm happy with them, and I just got some more for Christmas, more colors. Also, I guess I probably didn't tell you the colors I'm using. This is, of course, titanium white and carbon black. And then I've got some iron oxide, some burnt sienna, some, I think it's saffron yellow. It could be yellow ochre, but I think it's saffron yellow. And I'm mixing my own colors on the palette, as you can see. As I'm doing it, I'm just, you know, if I need a lighter yellow color or whatever, I'll just get that. Okay, so the painting is probably winding down pretty soon, so I wanted to talk about um, what's coming up in 2016 for my channel and my blog and everything. This, of course, is my last video for the year and the end of the holiday season and the start of the new year is always a auspicious time for people. I wanted to thank everyone who's been watching me since my channel started in October, and I'm so grateful that people leave kind comments and nobody's really been negative to me at all, and that makes me want to keep doing this. So I do plan to. I'm going to be doing a collaboration again with the same people that I did Nano Jamo with. We've named ourselves the Fab Four. We really just renamed our Hangout chat the Fab Four, and we decided we're going to have a new hashtag for the year called hashtag Fab4 Creates, and we're going to be doing a challenge every month, and we've started a YouTube group for people who wanted to play along with our challenge. We'll be using sticks that have different prompts on them, and we'll be drawing tin, and then each of us will be doing a page or a canvas or whatever with the 10 things that we've drawn, and we'll be sharing those at the beginning of the month and then posting our videos at the end of the month. And we'd be happy if other people want to do the challenge along with us. That would be great. More coming, on my first video. I'll really give all the links to our YouTube group and all, or not YouTube, but a Facebook group and all that. But I just wanted to give you a heads up of that coming. As you can see, I decided to add a halo and angel wings to my painting of Rocky. I did not want this to overpower the painting. I wanted it very light. So I just drew it on. I made some templates for myself and drew it on with a white Stabilo All water-soluble pencil. And then I'm just using a translucent gold paint to paint it in. And you can see it when you look at the painting, but that's not the first thing you see. So that's the way I wanted it. It turned out exactly as I wanted, using just a real flat brush to do that, just to show that it's a memorial painting. It's about someone who has passed on and is flying with the angels now. I hope you enjoyed it. I know this isn't really a true tutorial. This is really just more about something that I did and wanted to share. So if you liked it, leave me a comment, and I will be sure to read and respond to you. And we're just about done. I can see my little thing is winding down. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope everyone has a great creative new year and that we all make some beautiful things. Thanks. Bye-bye.